when the world is full of care, and every headline screams despair, when all is great, starvation, war, and life is vile, then there's a certain thing I do, which I shall pass along to you.
Why, hello there.
Hi.
And welcome back to Arternoon Tea, where the tagline is,
The nicher of the nicher niche.
we like quiche. Hello, Yemi.
Hi, Alice.
Hello. How has been? How has it been?
It's been actually real cool. Cambridge Film Festival finished yesterday.
Ooh, it's finished.
Yeah, it's finished.
Ah.
So last week's episode, it was starting, and then this week's episode is basically done.
I missed all of it.
Did you?
Yeah, because like if it's in the day, then it's too inconvenient because I got uni and things that I gotta be in the studio. But by the time you finish the studio, I just want, I want to go home. I want a bed. It's getting colder in Cambridge as well.
It is. Winter is
so,
finally coming.
So as much as I'd like to see Suspiria or any of the other
Yeah, but you'll get to see it despite
the
festival.
I feel like I've missed out on. I feel like we're missing out on some things that are rarely on the big screen, like Seven Seal and things like that. But because I live 20 minutes away from the city centre now, the thought of cycling home at 11 after watching the Seven Seal is not the most appealing.
No, I swear, like, even I had trouble walking back home after the Seventh Seal because, so obviously I watched it loads of times, and that was the first time I got to see it restored on the big screen. All the initial emotions that I had were like dialed up to 10, and the thing is one thing to see death sneak up on you, on a small screen, but it's another thing to see it like sneak up on a massive screen. So whenever you saw him, he's like, it's like, I'm here, and it's really creepy. And so you're just like, And so when I was walking back home, I just had this constant paranoia of like turning angles. I was just like, okay, will I walk over there? Let's say, am I going to find death?
Is he going to be there?
Because, oh my god, but this film is so good. It's so good, and it gave me crazy feelings to see it on a big screen. But yeah, it was really fun to work with Take One, because obviously London Film Festival was one thing, because I just went there to watch films, whereas now I went there, I watched films, but I also reviewed them. Yeah. And so it's really exciting to have all that festival buzz and like work and you feel that little bit of professional in yourself, and you're like,
I'm a film reviewer.
I'm Jennifer and I review films.
I'm Jennifer. I review films, and then sometimes I vlog. Because I love. You should do that though. Next time you go to a festival, you should do.
I should vlog.
Because there's this one person that I follow like religiously on YouTube is Alicia Malone.
Okay.
And she's like she like really into her classic films and stuff like that. But then she'll go to festivals for, to reviews and things like that, to cover junkets and things like that. And sometimes she vlog the whole journey there.
Oh, I should.
And I was like, I get to live vicariously through her.
I'll think about it for the next filmic event.
Yeah. The next time there's a festival, you definitely should vlog it. And then we can upload onto Arternoon Tea.
Vlog!
Content! So, what's your top film from the Cambridge Film Festival?
Top film?
Not including the films you already have seen at the London Film Festival.
I honestly wouldn't know if I have a top film. I got to see loads of great films. Ooh. I finally got to see Birds of Passage, which is the Colombian submission for the Oscars. And it's phenomenal. It was so damn good.
What was it about?
It's basically it's based on true events, and it's this traditional Colombian family. I think it's called a Wayuu family.
Right.
And so they're very traditional, and basically it's their struggle to adapt to the modern world, and it's very much a Narcos take on The Godfather. But it's really good because you have this family values and tradition, and obviously then they get involved in drug smuggling because we're talking about Colombia in the 60s and 70s. So like the United States were like their number one drug client. And obviously you see them trying to adapt to this new business because it is drug smuggling is a very modern business.
Yeah.
And you see basically this family trying to stay traditional despite this modern business, and then you also see all the tragedy that comes from drug smuggling and all that. But then cinematography is do you know there are moments when you you feel it, it's physical, and you go like, ooh, that's amazing, wow.
You're like, that hurts.
Yeah, and
that beauty hurts.
I don't want to start with Oscar predictions, but since foreign film category basically it already started.
Yeah,
I genuinely think it will get nominated. If it does not get nominated, I will be pissed.
If it's not, it's at least an Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Alice, how was your week? It's been good. It's been alright. It's been a week. It has been a week.
It has been a week.
Yeah, stuff happened. Mainly uni stuff. I had like a weird thing with like Halloween.
Oh.
Because it felt really weird to me. Because normally, because I'm not that big of a party girl and whatnot. But normally on Halloween, I always have something to do. Normally I go to the Traveling Salesman. Because for the last 2 years, he's been doing a Halloween thing at Devonshire Arms. But he didn't do it at Halloween this year. He's doing it on Sunday, which we're all going to. It's
gonna
great.
hear spooky story.
It's great. If you're in the UK, which I expect most of you are, you need to go see the Traveling Salesman when he comes to your city, because he is amazing. I'm his biggest fan. I advertise him to everyone I know. Fan. But it's great. But normally it's on Halloween, so I feel good because then I want to do, because like something my mom always say, if you don't do something on those festive days, then it's just gonna be a normal day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because if it's special, if you make it special. So normally I always have that to go because I don't want to go to the parties, but it's so eventful and I feel like I'm celebrating.
Yeah.
But this year I had nothing to go. I didn't go to any.
I watched films and that was it.
I didn't go to any parties. There were no Traveling Salesmen. And then on my way home, there were loads of kids out trick or treating.
Aww.
And I was shook.
Why?
Because I thought it was a film myth. It's like one of those things that people only do.
Serious?
I've been living in Cambridge for 4 years, but in all those 4 years, I've always been in student accommodation.
So you just saw pot.
I've seen Halloween parties. I've never seen trick-or-treaters. So
Are you serious?
I genuinely thought it's something they only do in the movies.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Halloween is very American.
Yeah.
Like, the point of actually trick-or-treating on Halloween is American.
Yeah.
So here, it is more of the, like, offspring, as in, like, let's go party.
So it really confused me. And then I got home, and then I felt fine. If it was any normal day, then it'll be fine. I'm home, I'm chilling. But then then I just got home. For some reason, I feel this weird, like, a melancholy thing. Because it's like, oh, it's my last year as a student.
Aww.
And, like, I don't have, like, I start having this like existential things like, have I done enough wild student things because I'm never gonna repeat these years? Have I made enough friends? Have no friends, no one invited me to anything. I've got like, once I finish student years I'll be alone because there won't be an excuse for me to socialize. And so now I'm going to uni and there are people there, so but once I graduate university I'll be at home, and normally I'm fine with that. I'm very happy with that. But for some reason, it just made me feel
don't
weird,
worry about
existential.
No. If you want to know about my Halloween, I watched, what did I watch? I don't remember, but I watched I watched a Swedish submission for the Oscars, and it's like the trashiest shit I've ever seen in my life. In
Sweden.
So I was like already like, ugh. I was really gutted, as in like, I wasted an hour and 50 minutes of my life for this thing. And I was walking back home and I was praying to God that I wouldn't bump into some killer clown. I was scared because everybody around me was
dressed up.
And I was just like, please, God, no clowns.
Yeah.
Please, God. And then I got home. I was like, I didn't see any clown. I survived.
Uh-huh.
I saw death. And I was like, ugh. And he was like, didn't. And I went home and basically went to bed.
Mm.
Yeah, so see,
that's how we normally do. And then by the next morning, I'm fine. I was like, oh, I have afternoon tea. I have friends. I do have friends, and I was like, oh, do I go out? Do I socialize with people? I have an ongoing Dungeons and Dragons campaign that counts. We have a great time every week, so I don't feel bad about not having any parties to go to.
There you go.
So. Yemi, I wonder what's happening with Daria this week.
Producer Daria!
We've been on a group chat with her. It's been a week.
I feel like I relate to you emotionally.
This is not my hat, this is Alice's
hat. It's her producer hat.
Because the sun is coming to my eyes.
Because producers need to block out the sun from their eyes. How have you been, Daria?
My Halloween has been the day we filmed Arternoon Tea, because on the actual 31st of October, I stayed inside all day, either editing and doing paperwork and preparing the shoot for the next day.
Everyone's dream, that is really scary. Paperwork on Halloween.
So it felt like Halloween, didn't it?
Yeah, and you felt spooked.
Yeah, it was spooky. But I had my first day of filming yesterday and it went well. Yay!
I saw the behind the scenes.
Oh, really?
Oh, it looks really cool.
Ooh, oh, yeah. That was cool.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's going well. Life's good. And now I shall let these two ladies present to you all the lovely stuff they prepared for today.
The hats too.
Oh, that was so lovely there. She's been working properly hard this week.
And she has a really cool project coming up.
Yay.
Keep your eyes open for that one.
Yay, Daria! Alright. I think it's that time in the podcast, Yemi.
Yeah.
Where we move into our main topic. And we are so excited.
Very excited.
Because we are proper edgy. We are proper edgy.
Yeah. We are going to talk about our main topic, which is Batman the Killing Joke. But more precisely, we're going to talk about controversy in art with Batman the Killing Joke. Wait, let me take my copy out. Proper nerds have their own copies.
Ah.
So, should we just introduce the story real quickly, like what's it about?
Yeah.
And
Let's, for the uninitiated,
yes,
let's do a really quick recap of what the Killing Joke is about, and then we can talk about specifically why we want to talk about it on this episode.
Yes.
Do you want to do the recap, Yemi?
Okay, so basically the Killing Joke is part of this thing that artists and writers do. They reinvent comics, basically. They rewrite and reinvent stories because they also introduce a sort of Joker origin in the story, which is something that has always been really ambiguous because the Joker is such an unreliable character mentally. Mm-hmm. Nobody really knows where he's from, how he became the Joker. So in this book, you will find one of the multiple versions of the Joker's origins.
It's non-canonical, isn't it?
No, it's standalone.
Yeah. Most people think of it as the official origin of the Joker.
It may be related to just how good the story is. But basically, it opens up with Batman going to Arkham Asylum and trying to talk to the Joker because he has this sort of existential crisis. And he tries to figure out, basically, what his whole point is, because the Joker is his full-on nemesis.
His foil.
He is, man. They always see each other. They always beat up each other. It's like this endless cycle. Joker escapes the asylum. Batman goes after him, kick ass, and then Joker goes back to Arkham. So he really has this crisis. He's like, why am I doing this? Because we're basically gonna end up killing each other one way or another, someday, sooner or later. Imagine having a superhero and let's say his main nemesis dies. what would he do? It will only be
The plot
loads
to
of
Megamind.
subplots, basically. Yeah, exactly. That's Megamind for you. But yeah, so it deals a lot with psychology.
Shenanigan ensues.
Yeah, and basically in this book, the Joker is trying to prove his point, which is that everybody can go mad.
All it takes is one bad day.
Exactly. That was
his thesis.
That's what he says. One bad day, and that's what he tries to do with Commissioner Gordon, because he is. Aha! Because he is literally the entity. He represents good, right? Yeah. He always wants to do everything by the book. He wants to follow the rules, and basically he kidnaps Commissioner Gordon after one tragic event, which we're probably gonna have to spoil though, because if we're talking about controversy, we will talk about this. So if you didn't read The Killing Joke or didn't watch the cartoon or don't know The Killing Joke,
here's your spoiler
alert.
Here's your spoiler alert.
Stop the video.
I'll make the graphics for Daria.
Immediately.
Spoiler.
But yeah, apart from that, it also, Batman has this existential crisis because they've been having this relationship for such a long time. And funnily enough, they don't know anything about each other. Because they've been going after each other for so long. Yeah. Yet the Joker really wants to understand what made Batman, and Batman really wants to understand what made the Joker. And so it's just so...
They're made of the same stuff.
Like, they're so close, yet so far apart. It's just so...
So close, yet so far.
And it's just so genius. The script of this actual story is fantastic.
And ironically, he fucking hates this book. He despises it with every bone in his body.
No, you mean Alan Moore.
Alan Moore.
Or actual Batman creator.
Alan Moore. Alan Moore hates this book.
What?
Alan Moore despises
Why
book.
did he
Alan
write
Moore,
it then?
he wrote it as, I think, he wanted to be shocking. It's one of the things, it's for a paycheck. His mate told him to do this. So he's like, I wrote this stupid thing. He doesn't understand why people like it so much. We're gonna go into that in a bit. But he outright hates this book.
That is so weird.
He hates it. He's got that John Lennon thing going on where he hates what he created. But yeah, he hates it. He doesn't understand why people love it. It's a great story dealing with psychology and understand how, why things happen the way they do.
Why we do things also. Why we react.
Yeah, why people act the way they do. So it's it's a very good story, very well told story. Yeah. But it tells that story successfully
in a very despicable way
at the expense of so many people.
Yeah,
the story is told at the expense of so many people, and that's another reason why Alan Moore didn't really like it, because it is sexist, it is ableist, it is like the term PC didn't exist when it was around, and he set out to be non-PC. He set out to be shocking, and he was shocked that DC let him do it. So the big event. So
in the book, Joker escapes the asylum once again,
and he decided.
But nobody knows what he's going to do yet. So you have this paranoia of what the hell is the Joker going to do now? So he
decided that he'll kidnap Commissioner Gordon, and at the same time he'll paralyze Barbara Gordon, who is Batgirl, in a very disturbing, rapey way. It's never explicit whether he did rape her or not. But
people have their theory.
He probably has.
He probably has,
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
he did.
But then this is the thing. Barbara Gordon, even though she's a standalone character, she has her own thing. She's a very successful character so far.
Yeah, she is.
But here she is used as a prop to push Batman and the Joker story forward. This story has, in terms of her character arc over the whole DC...
It doesn't help her at all.
It doesn't... There's no build-up to it.
It stops her.
Yeah. This is not an accumulation of her arc.
No.
She's literally used as a prop, effectively, for the story. But it speaks to a wider thing that is problematic in the comic book situation. I don't know about nowadays, but back then it was very prevalent, where female characters will just have to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of a male story arc. And the thing is, I don't think that's all Alan Moore's fault, because the story goes that he decided that
I don't think he had that in mind.
No, he did. He went all he was thinking about is, what is the worst way the Joker could hurt Batman? and the best way to do it is to hurt those closest to him.
Exactly.
And at that point, in the Batman's canonical story arc, Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon are the closest people to him.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to kill Barbara. So he called up the editor, I forgot her name at the time. So he was like, this is probably not going to go through, but we're going to do it anyway. He's like, you mind if we, cripple Barbara Gordon? And then, allegedly, the exact words the editor told back to him was, yeah, cripple the bitch.
Oh my god.
That's allegedly the exact words.
That is such a terrible thing to say.
And in comic books,
man,
because it's comic books, you wouldn't think it's a big deal because people die and people get crippled and they come back all the time.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
because of this writing and rewriting and reinventing.
Yeah, and people like Superman dies here and then immediately gets revived.
He dies, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, people die. So you think it's not a big deal, but for some reason, for Barbara Gordon, she is permanently crippled.
Oh.
Canonically, she is never brought back. There's no magical serum they inject into her spine to make her legs go back.
That's how Batgirl stops.
Yeah, they decide no, she is permanently crippled.
Damn.
And that is not Alan Moore's decision to make. She is not. Her character is almost killed off.
Yeah.
Until another two writers decided, no, we like this character, so they brought her back as the Oracle.
Oh,
but
I forgot about the Oracle.
But they kept her in a wheelchair because the Killing Joke did so well after the sale. So it's like, we want to keep the events of this book as permanent as possible, which is a good thing in storytelling. But for some reason, it's done to Barbara Gordon and not Batman.
Any other character.
It's not Alan Moore's fault.
No, absolutely
that thing
not.
that has happened to that character, because it's for the story. It works.
Exactly.
For the story, it was dramatic beat.
Yeah.
Things had consequences.
As you said, like it hurts Batman.
Yeah.
But then it also hurts the epitome of goodness, right? It hurts Commissioner Gordon because he also doesn't have anybody else. His wife is dead.
There's gravity to that act.
Exactly.
That act makes perfect sense for Joker's character, for the story.
Absolutely.
It just unfortunately became a kind of shining example of this sort of like weird misogynistic thing that was going on in the comic book world. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
That it's but mainly a lot to do with its success. It didn't mean to. So it's a bit strange. Probably Alan Moore, when he wrote here, they're gonna bring her back. Her comics were selling very well, so he probably didn't think about it. But no.
No, Barbara stayed in a wheelchair. That is. But yeah, that moment is also very hard to go through, because at the time, since it's like in the early pages, I think it's like page 17 or something like that, and you don't get the motive. That's the thing. You don't understand. The only thing that the Joker says is to prove my point. And you're like, what the hell is your point? Is crippling and maybe raping a woman, like, is that really necessary to make your point? And so it's just horrible, because you also go through that emotional roller coaster, because it's graphic. It is very graphic. And so you're just like, oh my god, and what am I reading?
And also, if you don't look at the big picture, if you take the book in isolation, that act that the Joker decided to do this terrible thing to Barbara Gordon, that's not really sexist, because Barbara Gordon was just positioned, conveniently positioned perfectly, so that this thing done to her would hurt both Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Like, say, if you try to replace a character, if you try to maybe put Dick Grayson or something, if it was the Robin, it would still be horrific. But it wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah, of course.
That's that famous panel of Commissioner Gordon in the center and surrounded by pictures of Barbara.
Yeah. So basically, just to give you a little context. So Barbara, got crippled and maybe, there's no confirmation.
It's not.
It's got raped. Yeah. And basically, the Joker just took a bunch of pictures of Barbara naked and is displaying them on this massive screen on this joyride, on this carnival joyride, and forces Commissioner Gordon, aka Barbara's dad, to look at the pictures and basically go mad. Yeah. Like, he really wants Commissioner Gordon to go mad by seeing horrible pictures of his own daughter.
And the picture could have been more horrific, it could have been more explicit, but if it was done to a different character, it wouldn't have the same impact.
Yeah, because like you said, if you put Dick Grayson in it, like, would he make Batman go through the joyride and see Dick Grayson?
It would still be horrific.
It would be horrible,
but it wouldn't have
the same impact.
Yeah.
As garbage.
So it's very, very strange.
But that's, let's say that's the main problem within controversy. Like, that's what sparks controversy in any kind of art.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's this very thin balance between the thing, the creation itself, and when it was done, like, in its own, isolated within any other context. And then you have the creation within a wider context, within a social, political, whatever context.
Yeah.
And that's where controversy starts.
If you look at it through the right lens, you see what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
And they did it well.
They did.
It's just unfortunate that they did a bad thing really well.
And I think that's the thing that we also don't want to admit, yeah? Because we have, like, all those, let's say, expectations. Mm-hmm. You don't want to think that you would like something like The Killing Joke or even Arkham Asylum. Yeah. And let's show the Arkham Asylum, which you think that The Killing Joke is psychologically bad. Arkham Asylum it goes on a whole new level,
story-wise and visually, because they decided to put Grant Morrison together with Dave McKean, and someone forgot to give them an editor. So they just went mental.
Like, show the graphics inside. They're very explicit. As in,
this is Dave McKean at his most explicit.
As in, it's very hard for traditional comic readers, though, to read something like that.
It's really hard to read.
Because it's very artsy. Hard.
It doesn't give a shit that you don't know what's going on. That's your problem. You're in Arkham Asylum and you don't know how to read a comic book. That's your problem.
I think Arkham Asylum is also... It really takes psychology on another level, because these graphics.
Yeah. You feel like you're going through a psychological break.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to draw a mental state.
It is horrifying.
It is very horrifying. Because, like, not only is it also very physical, because it's very gory. It's very gory.
And both of these books would not be published in 2018. No. It's just not gonna happen. Which is weird, because it leads to this weird relationship that we have with this whole PC thing. On one hand, it's great that we don't, take people for granted.
Exactly.
It's great.
There's respect.
It's great that disabled people aren't used as freak show henchmen, like in this book. It does nothing for disabled people.
No.
It paints out as horrific freaks.
Even dwarves, man.
Terrible. Like, it's great that we don't do that to people, because they are real humans. They are people, and they're not freak shows.
There is a freak show. There is a freak show.
So it's great that we no longer create media that dehumanize humans.
Exactly.
Like this.
But then there is that little thing where it creates something bigger.
Yeah, but then at what point does the end product justifies the sacrifice?
Yeah. I see your point. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's something so... We're also trying to force ourselves to be very PC. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it takes out a lot of identity. Everything becomes blurry. Yeah. And there's nothing concrete at the end of the day. And I'm not saying that now everybody has to be offensive or anything like that.
No, you shouldn't like maliciously hurt someone.
No.
By a depiction or portrayal. But then I feel like this PC culture has gone a bit too far, where everyone gets offended at everything.
Exactly.
So, I want to talk to Daria really quickly about this, because during our production meeting, she has a very strong opinions on this whole art versus PC versus censorship.
Yeah, because obviously, like, most of controversial art now gets censored in a lot of countries, and also, ironically, in, let's say, democratic and liberal countries.
Oh, it's a vagina.
But yeah, Daria, what's your take on it?
So I don't think my opinions are that strong. It's just one thing that I think about a lot is the fact that when it comes to art, especially art, I prefer it to be uncensored. As you said, Alice, you have to think of the consequences and the way you portray people. At the same time, I think it can be crippling for an artist when it comes to a world that we live in today, because as you said, sometimes everybody gets offended, and you don't know, maybe you say something and you didn't mean it, and suddenly like you're in this middle of this like quarrel and this fight for like social justice and everything. And I believe that for some artists it can like this sort of censorship and this fear of not offending people can like be detrimental to the artist and art. Again, there's always a middle ground, and I think everybody has a point. But
absolutely,
it's finding that center. Like, how do you not not actually hurt a whole group of people with your portrayal of something, but at the same time, you don't want to shy away from things that are difficult or might cause conflict because you're scared someone might get offended. And a lot of people get offended over really stupid things these days, things that are not worth getting offended over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's like a bit, it's a tricky thing to tread.
And you also have to think of the times, because this comic was like written what year? 1988. See, and today's art might be different because of the times we live in and the fact that people get offended. So it's okay for art to like maybe be like this in these times, and maybe in the future there will be other changes. So that matters a lot too. So
it's also really important to not retroactively go back and then censor.
I think that definitely no.
You can look back and say, okay, that period, that art reflects that period, and I can objectively say that was wrong, that they portrayed certain things certain ways. But I think it's wrong to go back to art of the past and then try to, censor it, try to block it out, and things like that.
It is a reflection of history, man. Like, the second that you're trying to change or prevent someone to understand what history is, that's where you just start to go straight into fascism. That's what as I rewrite history, that is like their main goal.
I am glad that we talked about this subject this episode, because I think it's an important subject that it's good to be discussed,
especially as artists, because we are artists, and so it's really trying, because before, back in the times, like being an artist, it was the master, it was the artist equaled the master, and so nobody questioned the master. But then, obviously, with democratization of everything, social media, internet, whatever, like now, literally everything is okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything is okay and everything is wrong at the same time.
Exactly.
And so now, the artists, I think, the main problem for the artists nowadays is trying to position themselves with, like, okay, here I have my vocation as an artist. Like, my soul feels that I have to do this. And then you have, would my soul be fine in this society? Just like, would my soul like conform to society?
Because I do need to eat.
I need to eat, and also I don't need to offend.
And so I had this really... I used to be really scared of
we're gonna pretend
she
we
melted
didn't see that.
away.
We did not see that.
I used to be really scared of, like, what if I create art for myself and it's only to serve myself and nobody else cares for it, then it becomes a self-service thing, and it doesn't add to anything, it's just purely me for me. So I used to be really scared of it. And I told my tutor, and he was like, Alice, there are dozens of websites dedicated to photoshopping arms on geeses onto pucks. So no matter what the fuck you do, someone is gonna like it.
Fair point.
So just do
That's
it.
a very fair point. Mm-hmm.
And there will always be people who are offended, but there will always be people who love that shit.
And they also like support the art.
Support the artists.
Because really, like, to go back to the Killing Joke,
yeah,
despite the terrible thing it portrays, narratively, psychologically, it's a fantastic.
It was in service
story.
of a good narrative.
It was.
It is the sacrifice worth the end product.
Exactly. There's death. There's this theme of sacrifice, and it ends in the most ambiguous way ever.
One of the most iconic ending of any comic books ever written.
Guys, check it out and give justice to comic books.
books. Comic books are cool. Go support your local Forbidden Planet. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored by Forbidden Planet.
I think that's a good place
to
end this episode. I don't know if we actually came to any conclusion. I don't know if we actually made any points. But it was a fun ride.
I think we did, as in just...
We shall see in the edit.
Yeah, we shall see in the edit suite if we actually discussed anything.
We shall see if Daria actually made anything out of...
I see the future. I see the future.
So if this makes sense, it's all due to Daria, and no thanks to us because we talked. She stitched it together.
Oh my god, there's so much on my shoulders now that I have to do.
Shout out to all the editors of the world.
I feel your pain. I feel it deeply every week.
But that was good.
It's good,
guys. And remember, stay quiche. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Yeah.
There's a way out of the podcast.
Christmas songs.
Christmas songs. Christmas.